All right, we're gonna start the meeting with a roll call.
Jonathan Shambroom.
Susan Faust.
Ange Ahern.
Ahmed Futterman.
Scott Campbell.
Week number 2, approval of the consent calendar, which would be discussion or approval of the minutes of last meeting. Anybody have questions? Comments? Do we have a motion to approve the minute?
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Minutes approved. All right, public comment. I think we ask Hillary.
Sure.
Do you want to come closer so that we can record it?
Top in
Okay.
Please, thank you.
Well, I'm just here before you guys. This is my first library board meeting as a Larkspur citizen. Long-term resident. It's been since 1992, so it's been a long time. So my kids grew up in the library. I just wanted to mention that I think having the Heritage Board involved in the transition process would be helpful. And whatever way, shape, or form that happens, whether you create a liaison with the Heritage Board to attend these meetings and maybe report back to the board, or you can come to the Heritage Board. I'm just speaking as a citizen here, with helpful ideas. And the other thing is, the last thing I want to say briefly is that you probably saw these flyers about the City Hall renovation project. And there's going to be an open house community feedback charrette tomorrow evening. It should be really good about this building. So that's it. And I'm just here to listen to what you guys have to say about the transition. I'm very curious.
Tell me your name again.
Hillary Culhane.
Thank you, Hillary.
You're welcome.
All right, board members' reports and comments. Anyone?
Comments, I mean, I was thinking about the last meeting we had around, with the different groups, and it sounds like there is a proposal out for the commons to sort of absorb into the foundation, for the foundation to sort of absorb into the commons. And I'm wondering how we track any movement on that proposal.
That should probably be an agenda item for a meeting where we would have everybody there. We just think about it.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, we note your comment that it's a concern and that we should probably look into it.
Well, yeah, I mean, a concern, but I think that there was also like a specific comment made that, that the Commons is waiting to hear back from the foundation. So I think it'd be useful for us to be able to track some of that conversation. Those are my thoughts
Okay.
from the last meeting.
All right, noted. Track.
And I can serve as a central clearinghouse as things develop too, so I'll kind of keep you updated if
Yes.
there's major movement.
Yeah,
Okay, that's helpful.
we can just add it on our, add it to our list of,
Kind of standing.
yeah. Standing topic.
I mean, what would the implications be? And
That's a huge discussion.
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, that's, I would add the
Yeah,
question. to
yeah.
this.
right,
yeah.
track the foundation. Jonathan or Susan, you want to wait for 6.1 to report on the,
I think that's what Damon thought.
all right, so we will do that. Director's report.
Okay, director's report, quick
Thank you.
some good news things. To start off with, I wanted to thank the Friends for paying for the carpet cleaning from 2 weeks ago. And it looks great in there, spent 7 hours, and it was pretty rough in there, so it smells a lot better and it's wonderful. We got 2 grants that I'm kind of excited about. We got an $11,600 grant to replace our firewall. So this will be our last networking upgrade. So the state has essentially paid for our networking equipment to be upgraded as being a part of MarinNet. And then secondly, we got a great grant to continue the zip book program for $8,600.
What program? Which one?
The zip book program. And so that's the one where if we don't have the book, you can request it and then you will get it. Basically, so the state's given us $8,600 to supplement our collection for requests from patrons for books that aren't in our current MarinNet catalog.
And where do these books come from? Other outside of MarinNet?
We order it from Amazon
Oh, I
and
see.
then send it to previously we send it to the person's home and then they returned it to us. We are adjusting that a little bit this year and we're having it sent here and having them come pick it up because it got a little confusing by going to their house.
So these are books that aren't available through interlibrary loan in the county?
Yeah, they
Okay.
generally are niche nonfiction reads that might get one or two reads. And so I think last year we just submitted the report, we had 100 and some books, we purchased for people who we otherwise probably wouldn't have bought. And then we add them to, well, a portion we add to the collection and other people can read it. So it's kind of a patron driven collection, which
Huh.
is kind of exciting.
And the one that we do not add to the collection, where do they go?
They would kind of eat, well, some we didn't get back from people. Some don't meet our collection development policy, so we send those away with where we put our weeded books,
Okay.
which right now is the Friends sale.
So this-
Previously, it was Better World Books for some of those, but now the Friends would get them.
But other libraries wouldn't take them,
No.
ones that have more shelf space.
Yeah, and some of these are, vanity prints, they're not mainstream
Okay.
publishers, so.
So what portion of that $8,600 covers those type of purchases that are made because patrons requested them?
All the money is dedicated to that, so 8,600.
So we're not, let me rephrase, we're not spending additional money to buy niche books for other patrons.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, we would use this, and then last time we had it, we didn't spend it all in the fiscal year, and we had a slight rollover to the next fiscal year. And then it kind of continued then, last time it was like 5,600. So it's a little bit more this year.
And how do patrons know that we have this ability to get them some really obscure books?
It's on our website and then in our newsletter and then our flyers. And then on the desk when we're interacting with folks and they don't see it, we can prompt that as an alternative.
I see, so they have to really ask for it, okay.
Is there a process to select which requests are then acted on, or is it sufficient for anybody that makes a request, they're gonna be able to get a book?
They fill out the Google form and then it kind of comes to us as an email and we evaluate it. And we usually generally buy it, but we don't have to, by chance there's something really extreme with the title or I published this book, and I want you to buy it. Which we had a couple of those. We would just send them a notice that we're gonna turn you down.
So self-published stuff is not.
And we might with some self-published stuff, but if not from the individual, we're looking for people to request.
Yeah.
Could you give just a little insight into some examples? Is it fiction, nonfiction, reference? Is it print? Is it other types of media?
We have a list of it, we submit it, generally it's nonfiction. And generally it's nonfiction, maybe political nonfiction that someone might have a particular interest in. Or it might be a biography that's somewhat obscure, one that pops in my head. Someone who was a chef wrote a memoir of their life and someone wanted to read that. Anyway, so we got it.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have another question on the earlier grant though, for the firewall upgrade. Does that investment stay in the building or will that come to the new library?
I had it.
Oh, that'll
Good
come to
job.
the new library. So we're still working out the IT plan. But our network for the library is separate from the city network. So the city network has a whole different stream because the library gets state money. We get our network through a group called Scenic, which provides network to kind of libraries and educational institutions throughout California. It's a pretty big group. And we're a partner in MarinNet. And MarinNet are all the city libraries and the county libraries into one catalog. And so MarinNet works with Scenic. So we applied to the grant, MarinNet applied through Scenic. And then all the libraries in Marin County were awarded this grant. And so the networking equipment we got before replaced everything except the firewall 2 years ago. And then this year, they kind of finished it up and we'll get a new firewall and they'll work on that installation through 2027. We just got awarded it Tuesday, so we don't have like the sequencing, but it will be in the new library or as our new firewall, and we'll map out the networking closet for the city needs and the library needs. But we haven't spec'd out the actual piece of equipment yet.
Great,
But
thank you.
the 11,000 was based on a piece of equipment at the time and price.
So if there's no firewall, what are the risks?
Oh, we
There's
do
there's
have a
planned
firewall now.
This is
will-
upgrading.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Without the upgrade though, with,
I'm not an expert, but probably not good, I guess. Probably like, I would guess on some level, some security breach
okay.
would be more likely. But I'm not an expert, but it's just, I think they upgrade every 5 years or so.
Ah,
And so the other, does that it on that grant? Just the other kind of thing I wanted to share, and this is kind of big, is Baker and Taylor's our distributor of books.
mhm.
And we set up our whole process to with not the zip grant books, this is like what normal books we buy. And Baker and Taylor's on the verge of bankruptcy and they're not able to fulfill their orders. And this is kind of a big issue in libraries, as you can imagine. And we also had set up our whole workflow process to receive the books processed by them. So as the Mylar, little sticker, all that. And so they were shelf ready, is what they call it. And now that we're not getting the books, and this has been happening, it finally blew up. They were gonna be merged. And the person was gonna buy them back up the deal. Basically, Baker and Taylor owes the publishers a lot of money. And so this is a problem, not getting the books. And so we ordered a few on Amazon, but staff are now having to cover it, doing the Mylar, and we're really not set up for that. So we're looking at other vendors, but this is kind of a big process and probably what it ultimately means for library patrons, because it affects the county and the other cities, is they're not getting the books either. And so you're gonna have like long hold queues and there's about 2,000 books that are always on hold. They're kind of in the system being shared. There are kind of queues on it and we get a delivery through it. And so a lot of these new books, we'll have to figure out where our new vendors is. So last week we talked with one vendor and this week we're gonna talk with another, but one's Ingram, one's Brodart. Those are like the three in library land essentially. And you want to go with a vendor because generally they give 40% discounts on all the titles, so the money goes farther, and then usually they process it, so let's put all the stickers and all that on there. And so we'll see what happens, but it's a big deal to set up a new vendor because you have to tell them like how to process it and set up a chart, and it takes months. So we'll see what happens. We are buying a few through Amazon, like I said, but just it's not good. Our land.
So the consequences of this, that patrons are not getting the books that they are expecting. And it's affecting all of MarinNet.
Yeah, if they're a new title, if you look in like new
Yeah.
titles now, and if you go into like our catalog, you can see all the titles with holes and their bestsellers. You'll see a lot on order, on order, on order, on order. We, Mill Valley, Tiburon, and us to a certain degree, our budget's really small, so actually that's a good thing, because we can kind of buy from Amazon and work around it versus like the county's budget for Baker and Taylor. They just signed a $1.5 million contract for books. And so we're heavily reliant on the county on those bestsellers to
Mhm.
shift around. So people will probably be waiting longer for the book unless something happens.
So the
that's-
impact is longer wait for the patrons, and do we have any money that we left in that we paid them and then we didn't get the books?
No, we don't prepay. We get invoiced and then pay.
That's
So we
fair.
haven't lost any, we haven't lost any money. We probably won't renew with them because it costs $4,200 a year to purchase from them. So we're probably not gonna do that.
Is that cost the fixed cost to work with them, or that's our budget of how much we purchase from them?
That's their licensing charge to
Got it.
use their system.
That's our fee.
Okay.
What is the size of our budget that is now not gonna get executed with Baker and Taylor?
Our book budget is about $50,000. It's hard to say what. We almost bought everything from Baker and Taylor, but now we've pivoted to buying from Amazon. So it's hard to say of that 50,000, what, but I'd say almost at the beginning of the year before all this, I would have said kind of all of it.
And how many titles are now affected that
Oh, that's a
I mean,
I'd say like anything that's probably been released in the last 4 months.
Hmm.
And most bestseller books come out in September and October. Most books get released around now. I don't have as good a handle on the children's books because Teresa's been gone and we did like a cart and we're waiting. The other item,
Mhm.
I'll talk about that in a little bit, but so the children's books, I don't have as good a handle on. For how those would be replaced.
Is there any, like, I'm assuming that 4,200 is an annual licensing fee? Because we are not really able to get books from them, is there any, like, way to get a
Refund?
prorated refund from them?
I don't think so, because they're going into bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And our renewals in the fall sometime. The vendor we talked to, Ingram, they don't have a fee for their
Okay,
book, so that's good. They do less processing, that's a little more clunky. I've used them before, that they use iPage. But I don't think we'd be able to, we can't get them, it's hard, they're not responding very well right now.
yeah, no,
But-
I forgot you said bankruptcy, yeah,
Yeah.
we wouldn't get anything.
Yeah.
That's
So
gonna be
we
a-
could try, I guess.
There's gonna be a lot of pressure on these other vendors as people switch over too.
Yeah, the one vendor told us, I don't know if we'll be able to make their minimum. That Brodart, that they sent us an email, we're still gonna talk to them Wednesday, but they wanted like a minimum of 50,000, I think. And so I don't know if we could actually promise. Cause like I said, the county buys 1.5, San Francisco, they deal with some large,
Mhm.
there, so I think they're also looking at. Large vendor, but we'll see, we could, salespeople do that, but they are pressure.
They want an order of 50,000
Uh,
from the Larkspur library, or can we combine with another small library? Would also not make the minimum?
We could talk, that's the thing we'll do at the sales call, see kind of what that, but the expression from the sales rep is like, we're busy and we want the business, but we have to be realistic. And that was kind of happened with the Ingram call also. It's like, we could probably get you the books relatively quickly, but not the processing aspect of it. Maybe not. And then the processing, it's a real library thing, but it takes longer than you might think to put like Mylar and the
Yeah.
little sticker and the barcode and. Some people love that work, and then you have to catalog it. So they also brought the MARC records, which are the catalog records, and you have to add it. So, each book, each book takes like 10 minutes, and so it's like a process. And we don't have shelf space, we can't. I don't know, so it's an issue, I just wanted,
That's a big issue.
Have patrons complained about waiting too long?
Not quite yet, cause last week they declared bankruptcy, or not quite, but that's when their deal fell apart. Before that, they were gonna be purchased by another. Basically the people who supply books like to Costco, Target, and big box stores. But then after reviewing their books, that deal fell apart. So, no one, maybe someone's complained, but not to me.
It's too early.
Yeah,
It's too early for the impact to have been felt yet.
and we're slow too, and people are used to waiting for books to a certain degree. So it's not a noticeable
Okay.
thing. It'll affect our hardcore patrons the most, you know? So, and then the other real quick thing, we did do an interviews for Teresa's replacement, the librarian too, and we've made an offer to a candidate I'm excited about. So hopefully next meeting, I could tell you, we got a new children's librarian, and this is gonna be the face for families and the new library and here, so it's a really needed position, and I think it's gonna be great.
And that person would start, if all goes well,
Haven't kind of got,
at the earliest, which would be what, December, January?
I'm hoping a little bit before they're local, so
So the holidays,
yeah.
enough
we're-
and time for.
I have overly wishful, like to tomorrow, but I know it's,
Voila.
no, that's
Ah.
not happening, but we'll go through the background process. That usually
Right.
takes a couple weeks and then see what's in their life.
Well, we're early October, so.
Maybe November, I'm
Could
hoping.
be
but-
good. Well, that's good.
And so I think that's my report, unless any other questions or comments or.
No?
I was gonna promote this too, so it is the part there, so.
And that is,
Pass it around.
Yeah,
that is this week, right?
I know
Tomorrow.
I know the Library Foundation's gonna be interested in coming to that tomorrow, to talk about stained glass. So
Oh,
Oops, sorry.
That's okay, I thought
Got you over.
No, no worries.
if you're interested,
Well, thank you, Damon.
Mhm.
We're gonna move on to business items, agenda, and Susan, do you want to tell us about the meeting you went to?
yeah. I went to the meeting, regarding the idea of doing a book brigade, as part of the transition from Magnolia to Rose. And, a resident of Rose Lane, Karen Leanhart, is the one who came up with the idea, having seen a video about a book brigade that actually moved 9,000 books for a bookstore that had no other means of moving. Our book brigade, if it goes through, would be much more ceremonial, because the movers will be taking care of the bulk. And then it will be up to Damon and the librarians what body of books a book brigade could move. So the idea, of course, is like a fire brigade. And the people who are behind this have come up with a route. And I won't go into all the details, but they're thinking about it very carefully. And they've thought about all kinds of issues that would come up regarding this thing going forward. A date is one thing that came up, and it's very hard to predict right now. Damon knows what the finish date is for the proposed finish date for the library. Is that around April 15th?
right now it's March 11th, would
March.
be there.
Okay,
But it's very, 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 very tentative.
yeah, and then there's gotta be time for the move-in and all the approvals. So we're probably looking around the beginning of May for a book brigade. And it probably should happen before the opening. Does that make sense to you?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's still to be determined a little bit.
yeah, and then after the Commons Foundation event, whatever that is, because we don't wanna,
I don't know what the,
I don't know what they're doing, but that was in the notes, and I don't know if they're planning something to honor the big donors. Do you know?
I think,
so I'm a little confused here. I was under the impression that once the new building is open and that the library had moved, then nothing could happen in in the old, on Magnolia. That's what, city, manager mentioned that meeting. So that the book brigade, especially if it's ceremonial, would be part of the closing Magnolia, opening
Right.
Rose, and would happen before the opening
Before the opening.
of the, okay.
I think so. I think that's what they're thinking.
Yeah, that's kind of the current thought, but still a lot of variables, a lot of people to work with.
Opening from last month's notes, I had it around April 1st. This is what Julian and city manager had mentioned. Now we're talking May. So the opening has been pushed back a month?
Well, I think it's just a little far in advance and there's, with the uncertainty of the exact date. And I think as we get closer, we'll be able to pinpoint a date. So we're kind of throwing out a little bit and there'll probably be a lot of completion dates, like the day the contractors go away. Then you have to get final approvals for, entry. And so then we have to schedule a move, or, there's a
Right.
lot of
And
different
furniture.
things.
I was just thinking in terms of sequence. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't need to have a date or a month. Just a sequence of event would be that the book brigade would happen maybe while all of this inspection, blah, blah, blah happened and the building is not quite open. Am I wrong? Did I misunderstood?
It could go a few different ways. It could be as a ceremony, it could be that way. It could also be something where we move and actually we bring back the books here and then have the book brigade over there since it's ceremonial. So I think it's not critical to the move, so part of it will be figuring out when it all fits together. And then if we did do the book brigade, I think you have to go through what's contingency plans, like you don't get enough people, if it rains, all those sorts of variables will have to do it, but I don't think quite right now, the dates are kind of out there as a maybe, and then as they start, they are on track at, we'll have to see.
And the furniture comes after the contractors leave. Is that correct?
It is a design build, so the contractors are purchasing the furniture,
okay.
so they'll deliver it.
That'll be in place on March 15th then.
Those are the kind of details I don't know. What exactly, when they're handing over the building and what done means. I think there's probably a few different dones. And when we can open, I think will be a whole series of discussions.
Anyway,
I
it's fluid, is
Yeah.
what it amounts to.
Well, yes,
But
yes,
the
yes.
idea of the
The
sequence. makes
sequence
sense.
is
Yeah.
just so that we know what comes first.
Yeah.
What strikes me about the ceremony of the book brigade.
Yeah,
Which is not moving the bulk of the books.
right.
But it's a way for the community to participate and to have like some pomp and circumstance around this is if the books had been moved, and this was the last set of books, so that it ends
Yeah,
with a
Mhm.
full library that then could be open, and it's like, great, it's like, I think it's better, closer to when the library is truly openable to the public.
I see what
Because
you-
it's gonna generate awareness and excitement and hopefully participation. So that was one thought, and the meeting from which you're reporting now on these, the ideas, were there other details of the book brigade?
there were lots of details.
Okay.
In fact, there were minutes and I think we have permission to share those. So we could send you those
That would be
minutes.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll send them
Yes,
to the
sure.
board.
because they've thought about a lot of things, contacting this, well, you're gonna contact the city, contacting fire and police,
Right.
thinking about
Lo-
what will be
logistics,
needed,
yeah.
for safety and so on. So they've been talking about a lot of those details.
Mhm.
But I think your point's well taken.
There,
I mean, because the opening is actually separate from the book brigade. Is that correct?
Yeah, we'll have to get all these openings out a little bit and
Yeah.
figure
there's
out what
probably-
they're.
we know there's gonna be multiple events, multiple openings for different audiences, small and large.
Yeah, but I think the opening is like, when is it open to the general public, right? That's, I think,
That-
the one to hinge on for the book
I-
brigade.
I agree entirely on.
The book brigade, is it mostly the friends or which groups are,
Well, the friend, they're kind of spearheading it, but Yeah, the friends were there, there was someone from the Larkspur Library Foundation there. Yeah,
The Rose Lane
Well,
resident.
and Rose Lane residents, yeah.
Will there be a follow-up? Will there be regular meetings?
There's another meeting at the end of the month.
Okay, and is it open?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay, great.
yeah.
Yeah.
We
We
should,
just have to coordinate and not have more than 3 of us there,
Okay.
because then it becomes a problem with the Brown Act.
yeah, the next
So we
meeting.
should not have 3 of our
Correct.
members there.
We should have only 2 of us. so-
Okay,
And
and
the
I'm
meeting's
not-
October 28th.
Yeah,
At 4.
I won't be here,
Okay.
so.
So I think we should put that in the minutes, our minutes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Just actually,
I can't go,
You can't go?
at 4.
I can
would
go.
you go?
Yeah.
what day of the week is the
The
28th?
Tuesday,
The
4
Tuesday.
o'clock.
Yes, I can go. And I will go.
So, thank you. Jonathan and Susan will go.
And
Yeah. And we'll send those
and I'll
minutes.
send the minutes. So.
Yeah,
is that the right forum to propose ideas for it?
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, yeah, and they're dealing with big picture and minutia.
Mhm.
So, they've talked about the day of the week that makes the most sense, which they seem to think Sunday because Saturday's so busy with kids and sports. So then the question comes up about funding library staff who might be needed for that. So there are a whole list of questions to answer.
How long do they anticipate it? Like an hour, 2 hours?
They were thinking 90 minutes to 2
Yeah.
hours. I think short and sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah. And they're looking at the kind of route that would be the fewest twists and turns and street crossings.
right.
Yes.
And is the library staff working on Saturdays generally?
This would be a Sunday.
Right, but I'm wondering if
Oh.
it makes sense to think about like balancing that with people's availability with having the staff already there.
yeah, we could talk about that more. We can sometimes make accommodation with staff at Touch a Trucks.
Mhm.
And so we'd have to figure it out. We'd also Sunday become, what day the libraries is open. We probably won't be open Sunday.
Right.
Right,
So some of these will just be another discussion point. When we go over there and which day.
Yeah.
But they definitely were talking Saturday, Sunday afternoons,
Yeah, I mean, Saturday is just so busy with kids and
Damon,
families.
just curious, did you attend the meeting?
Yeah,
Did-
I
you
was
were- you
there,
were
yeah.
there, okay, so you know exactly what they're talking. And what's feasible and what's not doable.
yeah. And they've talked about, reaching out to other organizations for support, including the Heritage Foundation. So that came up in
Great.
discussion.
Did the Larkspur Community Foundation was contacted as well? Because that's a community event. If there is one big community event happening. that's
Yeah,
it.
Larkspur Community Foundation is on the
in there.
list of
That's it.
things, agencies and organizations they wanted to contact. They talked about sponsorships and donations,
Mhm.
outreach to different groups, schools, Larkspur walkers, etc. There's a lot of detail. And then they did talk about marketing and perhaps getting a graphic designer to come up with something for the library opening and the brigade, which I sort of see as a centerpiece for a lot of the things that are gonna happen. So, yeah,
I have a question.
yeah,
Of course. Would that be the closing Magnolia event, or if there gonna be another closing Magnolia? Or is there room for another one? Another event
I-
that would just be specific to this location?
I wouldn't, I mean, again, we have multiple events. I wouldn't think this would be the closing event because depending how it's structured, this might be the last little push.
mhm,
And I think it might be nice to have an event downstairs when we're still open and it's still somewhat what people's memories of it are.
mhm.
So again, we haven't finalized any of this, but I think the book brigade in itself would be enough. And we could probably open this up and people could walk in, but I wouldn't see it being very ceremonial.
But the idea of it being the closing,
Yes.
the last
So.
the last bunch of books. But the opening and ribbon cutting is something that's going to be separate, I assume.
Yes, I would think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe that would be something we do, we lock it the final.
Yeah.
Something, or, have a key, or, take a picture.
I do think that your idea of just saying a memory, this building and the library downstairs, so many people have already expressed how attached they are to it. That to have a separate event, if we can find a group to put it together, the Heritage Bowl.
It'd be really nice to have a tea or something like
Yeah,
that.
And-
whatever, I'm game for whatever someone else wants to organize.
The other thing that did come up at the meeting was this idea of a farewell to the old, and they thought perhaps kind of love letters to the old library online or photographs, doing something to look at the past, especially for people who are especially attached to the
Mhm.
building. So that did come up. But not as, they didn't talk about an
No,
event.
because it's completely, yeah, and it's completely different from this book brigade. So it
Oh,
would
yeah.
be- It would be, again, in terms of sequence, it could even be at the same time if we have something online. Just. Sounds good.
Yeah, and then if we get a logo from a graphic designer, it could be something to be used for bookmarks or book plates or something to mark the new beginning, so. Yeah. The people who initiated this have given it a lot of thought, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sounds like it.
yeah, it seems like a realistic possibility that the energy's there.
Yeah.
To make it happen.
and the organization, so they were impressive.
Good. Oops. We'll go back to my paperwork. All right, thank you for attending.
Oh,
Thank you for reporting.
It was exciting to
Thank you,
listen to what they had in mind.
If there's no more question about the book brigade or any other events surrounding the closing of Magnolia and opening of Rose, we're gonna move to 6.2 review of policies needed for the new library. And today we're gonna limit ourselves to a list of policies that need to be examined and not dissect them, right?
Yeah, that's the goal, you can kind of go deep into some of these things. We're probably, this library doesn't have that many policies, and I think not having policies is generally good. Because it shows that people or we have patrons here who really love it and don't misbehave, to be honest. I think the new library, though, will need a few different policies, but before that, I kind of want to review. Right now, we have an internet policy, and that's people who are using our computers, and that one will need to be updated for sure. It's just outdated for what it is and what it is. And secondly, we have a patron behavior policy, which you might want to look at, and that will need to be updated in some large form also. It's just too dated. I've kind of done these in my career before a few different times. So one thing to do with all these kind of policies is good. Other libraries have done a lot. And then it's also figuring out what's realistic here, not maybe going overboard. We're not San Francisco Main Library, figuring out what the right balance is. We do have also, you might remember with the board, we developed the unattended adult policy where adults can't be in the children's area alone. They needed children to accompany them. And I actually used this last week. It wasn't anyone's fault because of where the door is, but I think families just feel more comfortable, obviously. I'd like to maybe move that into a child safety policy and make it a little bigger. A lot of the libraries have policies of this sort of like, if a child's there when closing and they're 7 years old, what do you do? So there's a larger, what's the library's role in child safety? Usually it's 8 and above children are considered okay to be there alone. If they're under 8, usually you would try to call a parent, call a guardian. And then at a certain point, you may have to call law enforcement. And again, this I think reflects on Larkspur not having to have policies like that, but these are probably just things to think about. So that's again, the unattended adult, but maybe shifting it into like a child safety policy of some sort. And then we recently approved the collection development policy. which I feel is pretty solid, so I don't,
Mhm.
you know, probably that'll work going over there. You always wanna, revise it. I would like to hear what policies, you know, you might be thinking we need and go, but the ones I was thinking, I think we should have, kind of a teen room policy. We'll have a teen room in there. And again, not hardcore policy, but like what ages do we expect to be in there? Is it, you know, sixth grade to 12th grade? Is that kind of what we're thinking? And then maybe some, you know, like language other libraries have used, like it's okay to be loud and rowdy in there, you know, things like that. Or maybe we want to have it be quiet. So I think the teen room, just having what is about, who's gonna go in there, that's kind of the thing we want to do. The other one I'd like to do, this one might be more of a fun policy, is to have a programming policy. But like, what types of programs are we gonna do in the library? You know, right now, we're committed to story time, early literacy. We do book clubs, but this also helps us, because there's gonna be thousands of ideas of different programs, but how do we kind of figure out what do we do? What do we have capacity for? What do we prioritize? And that sort of thing. I think also a couple other ones will probably, and this will be probably more city led, we'll need probably a policy for the meeting rooms and how they're booked and
Mhm.
who can use them, and same for the study rooms, the 4 study rooms that are in the new library. I've already had, I bet, 5 to 6 requests to reserve the meeting room.
That does not exist.
It does not exist. And, you know, it's more check back later, but you know, even we have it the third Tuesday at 7, and it's like, whoa.
Or even tutoring stuff comes up
That's
sometimes.
right.
Yeah, tutoring is there, too, and at the county, we had a tutoring policy, so that might be something worth to discuss, you know, our paid tutors, that sort of thing. But the meeting room and the other study rooms will probably need some sort of policy, and then the other one, again, we don't want too many policies and too much work, but, we're gonna revise the Wi-Fi a little bit down here. Most other libraries have, and you've probably seen this at other places where you agree to, when you log on and you agree to something. We probably need that in our Wi-Fi system. And we've been kind of collecting that at a few different libraries. Shannon's collected a few. And it just, it also helps people not log on to the network if they're not intended. So like our printer downstairs is always jumping networks. So this would help, you know, who's on the network, and they'll just to agree to the policy. Those are kind of for, just, you know, other libraries had kind of standard, something probably to work on. I've also thought about the tutor policy. That probably might be better to wait, see how it's used over there, what the philosophy is for tutors generally with people. And then, we probably on some level need to have, a policy to figure out what the room of the archive room will be.
Oh.
So that's probably, again, probably not so much the library, but, and again, just to clarify, what is the space here? What's gonna go on here?
Right.
It's not really, some of these policies, policy often connotates like, especially in libraries, we're gonna, you know, blah, blah, blah. These are just more, this is kind of what's going on. We'll also have, in addition to this, like procedures and guidelines and things like that for people. But once it's a policy, it's kind of the law to a certain degree. That's for libraries. You know, like if you do this kind of happens more with patron behavior. So those were kind of just some brainstorm, probably a little more than a brainstorm, but some thoughts I had with some policies. But I also was wondering if you had any thoughts on policies.
So a few of those, there obviously are policies that are dictated by new space that we do not have here, like a teen room. We don't have a teen room, hence we don't have a teen policy because we can't. So are there any other space? You know, we have a team room, we have a study room, the children's room. Well, we have one here. We cannot just, story time just overflows into the main room. Can you think of any other, usage that will be allowed by the new space and that we don't have here? So we
I
can
was
say-
thinking of the outdoor space,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
right?
Yeah.
And when you were
Yeah.
saying meeting room, study room, I was gonna ask about that immediately, the usage, reservation, planning, conduct around outdoor space.
Yeah, I think outdoor spaces.
Rent it out for birthday parties.
I think, and also just like every day, you know, like, are we allowed to have dogs there? Like little things.
Yeah, I think that's good, and I think also with the
Of course.
outdoor, the dog might be its own policy. Outdoor like parking
Like,
probably become some, we'll have to have some kind of discussion with parking, especially being that close to Redwood and
but that would be the city who did that.
probably, yeah, the
The
city.
the
and this-
city would be regulating parking and, because there's safety issues and it's more how to use the building that I thought, which it means how to use the outdoor space.
The indoor outdoor space, especially where there's a continuum,
Yeah,
where it
that's
could be
right.
an event
That's
or a
right.
usage case. I think
Yeah.
that's a good
And the
policy
EV,
opportunity.
is that paid EV parking or is that free EV parking, like the charging?
My understanding is it's paid,
Okay,
but, okay, yeah,
Okay.
just,
well, that will obviate any policy, you know.
Probably gonna have a smaller parking policy, cause I never know where to park.
Oh.
yeah, the strollers are gonna be something we wanna. And some of these policies, these will be good, like I could see like the stroller being something we don't, maybe don't put on our website or formal approval, but kind of as we work together, like, cause even here. I bet yet, I had to tell someone to move their stroller, cause it was double wide ones, and they wouldn't leave the building.
And we block the ramp.
And yeah, it was kind of a problem, we didn't really have a policy, and I was kind of making, can't do this, cause it was. You can't, it's blocking everything, so I think that those will be another good, kind of, the,
Like people are picnicking or bringing food after school.
I think that's a good one, and some of these, I think, now that we're talking, like the stroller, the food and drink. Might fold into the patron, right now we call it patron behavior, that might be a little harsh, but it might be about more of a code of conduct. Type policy, but I think the food or drink. Would be a good thing to incorporate in there, I know Tiburon started, once they opened, they had food and drink, but then they stopped it, and they kind of started enforcing food and drink, especially like in the teen room or certain areas, because they were finding, they found French fries.
It's great.
So there might be some areas, but in the study room, we might have like, again, hypothetical, but covered lids okay or something. Like that, and that'd be something.
But because we have those spaces that are indoor, outdoors with the doors opening, then we become. It becomes fuzzier. If you-
I have a couple other questions
Mhm.
for policies, smoke-free.
Uh,
Including the outdoor space, I mean, I don't know if you demarcate that, but just clarity around that for people.
Isn't all
Yeah.
public buildings smoke
Yeah, I was
free?
gonna say
Well-
that might be a city thing with having it X amount of feet away, I don't know, but yeah, it's a good thing.
Just to clarify, if,
Yeah.
whoever
Yeah.
resides over that, just making sure it's
Yeah.
clear.
And something like that, maybe that also feeds into signage a little bit, but yeah, that's a.
That,
good-
that was my next one, is signage, like what's permissible to be posted? Are there areas, are there guidelines around that?
Yeah, those are good.
The teen room policy, I would ask middle schools. Because they handle those middle schoolers every day and they would know. The last thing we want to do is to have a policy that we think will help and in fact just prevent them from coming, and then we're shutting a whole group of patrons to come, and we really want the teens to just become proficient in using the library. So talking to a middle school and asking what is it that what is acceptable in the teen room, in terms of behavior. That, no, you mentioned loud. Is it how separated is the teen room from the other part of the library that we can allow? And if they're having building something, robots or Legos or whatever, it's gonna be loud. And then it's the other patron who might just complain, and we can tell them it's our policy. We let the teens scream when the robot doesn't do.
No, I think that's a good idea, and I think that makes me think, to reach out to like Hall Middle School Library, has a new librarian, she reached out to us earlier, maybe just. Talk with them and seeing some of their,
Yeah, what can we expect and what are the boundary that we want to put, because they're gonna be pushed.
I think it makes a lot of sense to try to be in sync, if it makes sense for the public library to be in sync with the school. But the teen room brings up a bigger question of after-school use in general, because Hall Middle School is across the street and the high schools are down the street, and it's very hard to predict what kind of usage we're gonna have. But we might wanna start thinking about that.
it is a good question, because probably the Hall kids. And the Redwood kids aren't gonna share that room together, so we have been kind of talking, though you have a teen, it can be 6 through 12.
Teen, 6 to 12?
Oh, great, I'm sorry. A lot of. Or 13 through 19, I
Yeah,
guess,
right, great.
like, in other libraries, there's kind of a reality of what happens. If all the Hall kids are in there. The Redwood kids probably aren't, and to be fair, Redwood's library is open till 6:30.
Oh,
I don't know if Hall has longer study hall hours, so, yeah, that's why these conversations would be good to figure out what. And, they're doing and kind of crossing over and making sure everyone feels welcome and has at least a little space at some time during this library. The other, things, and then once we do that, we can also figure out other ideas, like possibly. Some libraries have and again, these are ideas, opened up their meeting rooms to like the high school study hall, and the teen room becomes a little bit more of a hangout. So there might be a few things we talk about there.
Yeah, and as you said, like the policies, once they're drafted and they're implemented, sort of become this formalized thing that it takes more work to reverse if needed. And so one of the things that we may want to think about is like an interim policy, or like making it very clear that it's a temporary policy until we see in practice how some of the space is being used, because as you
It's like
said, it's very
prefiguring.
hard to predict it, yeah, and I think it's like, sometimes you just kind of have to let the use dictate what policies we need.
No, that makes sense. So then maybe some core things we could do, like the teen room. Adults can't be in there all the time. There might be some like core things that then flush out some of the details once we see who's coming, how we're using the space. Cause this is gonna be such a different space than we do now, and such a different clientele. We can't anticipate
Yeah.
everything.
Right.
so is
And I was just thinking, we are probably, unless I'm missing one library, the only library that is located so close to a middle school and a high school. That we are just,
Well, the College of Marin Library is very close to Kent Middle School.
Oh.
The existing and the new one that's being built are very close to Kent.
and are the middle schooler allowed to use it?
Yeah,
they can?
it's a part of MarinNet. The College of Marin Library is
But-
part of MarinNet, and it's open to the public.
So that would be interesting to ask them what they have done.
But I don't
With
think
the
that
teens.
I think it's actually a good time to connect with them in terms of how they're thinking about, because they're building a new library right now. Theirs will probably be done a little bit before ours. But I don't think there was much use in the old one, but the new one, I would be surprised if there's not, and they haven't sort of thought about that.
So about, I mean, it's obvious, if it's right there across the street, that the middle schooler and the high schooler will come, and we need to be ready to just be.
as far as the age range then for the teen room, what are you thinking?
I'm still, I would think for a policy, we don't want to go too deep in the details. Right now, I'm thinking 6th grade through 12th grade
So
is
middle
kind of a
school and high school.
standard. Library thing, but that's based more on all libraries rather than our specific case.
But it'd be middle school and high school.
Yeah.
I mean, that's neat.
Mhm. And like I said, the big thing is to make sure adults don't overrun the space.
Remind me, the room is a closed room with a door, or is it,
It's a
The
glass
fluid.
enclosed space.
Tables, furniture.
Tables, and I'll have a screen, have 46 linear feet for books. But it'll be more of a hangout kind of space. There's 2 tables, some chairs. So, yeah,
for homework, projects, reading, coloring, Play-Doh?
Lego.
looking at their phone, I'm
I
guessing.
haven't hung out with teens in a long
Yeah.
time, so I have no idea what they do.
I'm not playing with play.
The Redwood librarian told us their most popular thing is actually trying to charge their phones.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, but we want to make it educational to the group, and then also what we want to do with this, once we get a little farther, is we have a teen advisory board.
Mhm.
Who's a little more tween, they're on the younger side of it. Kind of, I'm gonna go to them, to one of their meetings and just see what they're interested in, see what they're all about. And, kind of get their feedback a little bit too.
It would be, maybe interesting to have one of them come and help us with the policy when we do it. They could tell us.
It might be, that's a good idea, and I could check it out. It probably is easier to go to them
Yeah,
on the third Thursday at 4 than to maybe get
Yeah.
them here, but
What's
maybe
the
they could
location?
zoom in or something too. Well,
go to them and just see what,
or
we can draft a policy, like you say, and then go and see what the reaction is and see if
Yep.
we just completely off.
and we've talked about them doing, kind of developmental leadership type activities, and we do have a friend, a treasurer. They set up goals and they set up each meeting, and we gave them $1,000 budget to work with, so. Might be good for the president to come here and address the body as a, little leadership.
Where are their meetings? Four
They're
PM on the third Thursday?
right downstairs in the middle of the library.
Got it.
So everyone,
In the teen room.
yeah,
What time did you say it is?
4 PM.
It's Thursday, so that could-
One thing you mentioned at some point, maybe when you and I were talking, was revisiting the mission statement too, which
Oh.
isn't exactly policy, but it really sets the tone for, library activities and scope. And I don't know that it needs major work, but at least some tweaking.
Yeah, we can look at that and add that to the list.
Sounds like a topic for a future meeting,
Yeah.
Yes.
capture.
Is that a segue or
Mhm.
to 7? Any more,
I would just maybe to the board, but I think the one, we were talking with spaces, and this is a good list kind of going back, and the one to maybe talk about a little bit more, if you'd be interested, is our programming policy. And maybe what you're thinking of and the vision a little bit on programming, would be maybe one start with, I guess, to think about.
right, that was, well, we have a long list of them there, and
Yeah.
I think that we should probably, or you can just, for next time, just group them, and then we work on them
Over.
2 or 3 per meeting, so that's where we can plow through them at each meeting, and you just put them in whatever order of priority you'd like. And if you want us to start with the programming, let's start with the programming.
Okay, and then some I might put in the category, wait for
Yeah.
opening, or
Mhm.
something
Make
more
sense.
eloquent than that, but.
And the ones that need updating would be a little bit lower,
Or we can just get them.
I didn't mean
Out of the
lower
way.
priority, I meant like a less amount of work, so maybe just get them out of the way type of thing.
Yeah,
So say we were starting with the programming
Mhm.
and we are gonna discuss it at a meeting. Would you want us to do some homework on that? And I mean, how do you see the work progressing?
I think each one of these might be a little bit different with. Like the programming one, I'd like to start broad, because I think to get effective programming in the library, we need to hear from a wide swath of people. and to get a lot of feedback and different ideas. Where like maybe the patron behavior one's gonna be to do.
In-house.
And, yeah, and to say, hey, this works, or I'm putting it on for this reason, or it might be. That one, so it might depend on what it is a little bit, and then some of these will be a little more city driven. And then some, even like the internet and wireless we'll probably have to have some sort of legal review, I would guess. Again, with the county, we had to kind of do some of these through the. Like that was the type of policy we'd have legal review, where like a programming policy, we didn't really need to have legal review.
Given programming policy, is that the events that take place?
It would be the events, for people of different ages, and then why are we doing it?
Mhm,
Essentially, I think it's events, but it also can be, I think, a broader
mhm.
term in terms of what are we programming for, like we do some passive programs for kids to take, like make crafts and those sort of things, about crossword puzzles for people, and some of these things we've just been doing because we're doing it. So it'd be nice just to get an idea of why we're doing it, and then it also gives us, we have a lot of people who approach us who want to do programs who don't really fit with us.
Mhm.
Like there are maybe an author who wants to, this is the big one, authors who want to do a talk on their book.
Mm.
And we're probably not gonna get a crowd. So we often will say no unless they could bring someone. Or we had someone who wanted to do like kind of an obscure history talk. Again, probably a great idea, but just, no one's gonna come, it's gonna be
Mhm.
awkward. So also that helps us
Yeah,
tell that person,
It's not a policy.
yeah, it's not our policy, which is a little easier to say than,
yeah.
No.
yeah.
The thing, Mary, I would suggest we capture and get into are principles and process.
Mhm.
They're different,
Mhm.
and certainly listening, like, how does the community know what's coming, which is, broadcasting, but also how do they request, suggest, and then how is that received? What's the entire process, probably driven by some principles and criteria.
No, I really like that, because some other libraries, we've done this before, have like a program request form, so
Mhm.
people can kind of submit. Cause I think Larkspur has a lot of talented people and could do really a great program about something, like we had. Oh, who went to space? Ron,
Ron Rodano.
yeah, he went to space, and that was a very well attended program. And that fit for us, because it was somewhat unique, and so that's a good. So I hope they have a form, so I like the
Yeah,
process.
yeah,
But
cool.
the idea of principle
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. And in a way, that's where the mission comes in. And we kind of work back and forth to see if it's expansive enough to accommodate the principles for programming.
Do we already have a programming policy?
No,
No, we don't. So we need to get that from
Mhm.
scratch.
yeah, that'd be good. There are quite a few other libraries who have them, so. There's good starting points to work off of.
So we should have this one be number one for next meeting.
That'd probably be, I'll regroup it, kind of digest what we said that, but that's kind of what I'm thinking, is this would be, because the programming will have a new space, but it'll be a larger idea. Then you don't have to be in the space. I can kind of bring up, because we are programming now, so a little bit about what we're doing now.
But if we have principles in any program, we just fit the principle or not. We
Mhm.
don't have to think of every program, we just have to think of what is it that they're supposed to do, which links into the mission statement, but it's a little more precise than the mission statement.
Yeah.
So,
But derived. Would it be possible to see some of the programming policies of local libraries before we meet next time?
I could probably pull together some and share them with the board and
Yeah,
links
that'd
and
be
stuff, yeah, the ones.
Then we can make
Yeah.
better use of the time.
And then that might give you a framework to see what some libraries are talking about
Right.
within that context.
Yep.
sounds good. So future agenda items, what do we have? We have track the foundation.
Can I go?
Yeah.
First of all, thank you. This has been great listening to the process. There's gonna be a lot of interaction as we were saying, between the city and the library about some outdoor space and the regulations and things like that. So it's really important that I kind of hear this and take all this in. For a future meeting, I would love to understand, let me back up, the Commons Foundation did a lot of the fundraising. And my understanding from talking to the president of the foundation is that they were doing this through the end of December. Then they were gonna have all the money for the building of the library and the landscaping, things they needed. And they were going to kind of phase out, and we were talking about what was going to be moving forward, if there was some type of foundation that was going to be helping with future financing. And I am really gray on that. And I don't know if that's anything that is in the purview here, because I know at the last meeting, everybody else, you know, the three different groups came to talk, and my thought was that was gonna be kind of resolved, and I, you know, from looking at the minutes and stuff, it didn't seem to be.
Because this is not a role.
It wasn't raised. I mean, I was there at the last meeting. I don't recall the topic of the, you know, the evolution of commons and the role of future fundraising. I don't think that, I just don't recall that.
It wasn't
being
not,
raised.
because
Yeah.
it's not our role. There are two foundations that are independent. And I just.
Well, yeah,
don't-
there are the three of them, and I'm just,
There's
I,
two
well,
foundations, the Friends are, the three groups, and we have no control over them.
okay, so.
We only ask them to come and tell us what they're doing. But we have no, they're independent.
So do you, as a group, have a suggestion for the council how to sort this out so that we can move forward with an understanding of, so for example, when the library was being built, we had an official, one of the groups was the official fundraiser for the city. We would like to try to do that moving forward, so it is the official foundation. But I'm not there yet, and I'm trying to figure out if, because you know these groups and dynamics, if you have a suggestion of how the council moves forward with this to try to organize our future,
Yeah.
you know, foundation funds.
Do you have an idea then, in terms of like, as Armel said, it's not really our role to dictate what they're doing, but so do you have an idea of what each group's goals are going forward once the new library is open?
You know, it's fluid, you know, in the sense that I believed I did,
Yeah,
and then it changed.
uh-huh,
And now I feel there's some contradictions or confusion about who's doing what. And I'm trying to straighten that out before hopefully the end of the year, because that was the date that the foundation had originally given me, that they were going to be transitioning out, if that makes sense.
that the foundation would be
The
transitioning.
The Commons
The
Foundation.
Commons.
The Commons Foundation was my understanding, they were raising money for the building and library, and then it became, well, I don't want to get the landscaping or furniture, you know, whatever things that was needed, but it was really for, once the library opened, their role was going to be done, and they
Uh-huh.
were going to be passing the torch to somebody else. And I think that may have changed or may not
And
have.
passing the torch to who?
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
That's.
You're, I
that's
think
my-
you're coming to us with questions, which I think are really good questions. Armel, you said it hasn't been our role, and I don't think it's our role, but we have a vested interest in it as well. We're definitely a party to this. What strikes me is some needs assessment or some definition of a goal. Like when the library project, or you know, really picked up steam, there was a clear goal line, like raise this much money, then it grew. And I think a helpful process would be maybe even querying each group of what do you see as the needs? Damon, a primary, you know, stakeholder, the needs going forward for fundraising, you know, ongoing, there's definitely a need, there's always a need for capital. I think that could be a good starting point. to figure out, well, then who will fill this role or various roles? How the groups, continue to interact is a
Mr.
I think it has an organic nature that is not completely understood. The best way, I mean, that's that's my observation of it.
That is mine as well.
Okay.
And I think that
Our efforts in the past 2 years have been to get the groups to come here and tell us what they're doing. This way, in the process of telling us what they are doing, they would hear what each other are doing and be aware of how they are complementing or just redundant. And that had happened. I mean, we have made progress, but up to a point. And what is very unclear for us is what authority do we have to tell any group?
oh, we don't have the authority
Yeah,
that's
either to
right.
tell any
That's
group.
right.
but-
But the only thing we can do is to ask them to come, and you see,
Yeah,
From our perspective, the new library, because of the, size and the project and the outdoor space, there's going to be a bigger budget needed to fund the day-to-day of the new library than there was for the old library. So the question is, that delta,
Oh.
where's that delta coming from?
Mhm.
And, yes, it could come from whatever we've gone to police and fire, all those other things, but the idea was there was going to be some foundation that was going to raise money and there was gonna be
Activity.
right, the interest from the foundation would pay for some of the stuff.
Yeah,
trying to
I
figure
guess
out-
from our last meeting though, in hearing about the efforts that are forthcoming from each group, to me, it didn't, there are certain things that are associated with the calendar year or certain timeframes. But we didn't, and maybe it's because we didn't touch on it, but to me, I don't remember anything being, like, here is our last effort at fundraising. It was more of an ongoing effort with, this is what we're doing in this, and by this calendar year or this date. So I did not get the sense that it was like there was a coming to an end of those efforts, I guess.
I know.
But we did not address that specifically.
That's good to know,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Join us.
I just wanted to speak in the capacity of my background is actually event planning. Even though it's not what I do currently in my real life job right now. And so I was at that meeting in my capacity as a Commons board member, but I also run a nonprofit here for the wrecking crew. So I'm a wrecker, sorry, library, different, the boards, the Twains are meeting here. But for me, what I would like to see in this whole big picture too is I still see all these groups working in silos. And I listened to the book brigade, whatever it's called, book brigade discussion. And the Friends I know is like deep in the weeds of doing it all and they have a great plan. And Diana St. James is amazing. I'm sure she's organized it. She's great. I worked with her, wrecking crew worked with her on Touch Truck. But there's no central planning point. And we sat next to each other at the meeting and the magnolia rose and Catherine Way already has this beautiful logo. She has it on her phone. It's gorgeous. It's really pretty. You don't need to hire someone to do it. She's already done it. And so to me, it'd be great to have one person or one entity separate from the three, because trying to pick one would be a nightmare. I understand that, to coordinate all these groups, to coordinate the calendar. And actually, there's a fourth entity that we're forgetting about, and that's this building, that's Dan and the city and you, because there's municipality rules that are gonna have to. Damon's gonna have to come here and all this county people are gonna wanna stand on a podium, and so to coordinate those four groups, someone should be coordinating, and I don't know if that's this entity. It makes sense that it would be y'all, but one person or one entity to coordinate all these opening ceremonies, to coordinate the fundraising, because every single one of those groups should be raising money for the library with their opening ceremonies. That's what I do, is raise money. So that's what I'd like to see really happen. And again, I don't know if that's your bailiwick or, but that's what I didn't see come out of that meeting. And that's what I was hoping was gonna come out of that meeting. And that's why I think my comment was that this meeting, this group should meet, and that should be, and you're doing it, it's on the agenda. To have an agenda with action items But so that there's a central point, so everyone's constantly talking, we're 6 months out, 8 months out now, maybe. And everyone's still working in their silos, there's no schedule, no one knows what the other parties are still doing. And I would pick a logo and a theme, and everyone should be working on that theme. The Commons shouldn't have a theme for their shareholders, and the Friends shouldn't have a theme for their people, and what's Larry's group, Library Foundation? They shouldn't have a theme, there should be one theme so that everyone ties it together, and then secondary, for me, that's how I would do it as a fundraiser. That's the kind of thing that I would think that we should be talking about, or y'all should be talking about, or we, before, and I think, stop saying 3, to me, there should be 4. Because the city has and when I asked Dan that night, the city manager, he needs 2 weeks, he said, I think, of that he's gonna accomplish. That he's got a time, I think that's what he said, he needed 2 weeks of time. So, and he's gonna bump everybody, if he's got a date, so, to me, I think, there's lots of money to be made there, we were both like, I'd pay for my Magnolia to Rose library card, limited edition, so that's just that would be my comment, and that's totally me as a fundraiser, event planner, not in any official capacity of the roles I have in the city.
So again, that's actually a good point, which is
That's,
if
that's for one event.
if this board would like to be that kind of fulcrum, for the 3 separate ones and say, hey, we're gonna bring you together, we're gonna organize this, and if this board is not the right board for that, then it should be the city council. And the city council could bring those 3 groups together and say, okay, we're gonna make sure that this is all organized and we're working together and not against each other.
I think that we're talking about 2 different things there.
Okay,
One, you are talking about going forward,
right.
10 years from now. No.
Starting.
Yes,
in-
starting now,
Right,
but going
And that-
forward, you're talking about the opening and that is, they're related in the sense that everybody is working in their silos, and what we have been trying to do is to get people to come here and talk to us, tell us what they're doing. And now, do we have the authority to tell them, stop working in your silos? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Well,
We have tried to get most
No.
people,
It's,
should the council, I mean, the
In-
council,
we are talking about a budgetary issue that is that's imminent. And I do think that, yes, the council has way more authority than we have. And will be there, I'll be there to just say, come and tell us which one of you is gonna take on the mantle to raise the thousand millions of dollars we need per year to continue sustaining this
Or
library.
is there a new entity?
And which one of you, how it is gonna work? And I do think it has to happen. Because the silos have been in place for many years. And I just don't think that we advisory board have much,
okay, that's
I
fair.
don't think we have the power, we just.
I mean, I'm not sure we have the power, but we've got the microphone to
Well-
try to bring people together and talk it through, I guess.
I think that you have a bigger podium,
Yes.
a much wider audience. A lot of people in Larkspur are reading the minutes of the meetings, are, looking at them later on. I can guarantee you, this is not the case for this meeting. And that's okay. I mean, if we want to be efficient and there's a time crunch, let's just go with, let's pull out the big gun.
That's fair. Everyone agree with that?
well, I think there's a lot of merit to that, but I also think there are different factors at play, because I don't think anybody has authority over independent groups. 4 of them, maybe even more than 4, 3 at least, some foundations plus other groups. But I don't know if it is a matter of authority as much as it is it's influence, it's coordination or facilitation of somebody can organize swim lanes to say like, let's have some synergy here, not duplicate. You know, are we going towards the right thing? And endowment and the financial needs, that's critical. And so I think it deserves, it warrants organization. And I do think there's the council has a perceived and real influence that's greater than the library board, which is useful. And I think the library board is very tuned into the library needs, which is also useful. So those are the two different things I was thinking of, like we're completely focused and only focused on the library, which is helpful. And maybe this is it's another entity in this this matrix.
You're absolutely right. The one thing, the other element is that this is a question of budget. We do not do anything about the library budget. We get a report from the budget that was given by city council to the director, and we have absolutely no say on it. The city council knows what the budget is for next year and the years to come, can predict where the revenues are gonna come, and can certainly see what the expenses will be. So having the city council knows the budget, have all three foundations that raise money and telling them, this is the delta, this is the gap, is maybe not which one of you, but how are we going to do this? It will at least present to those three entities the magnitude of the need, the magnitude of the work, something that we cannot do because we do not have the numbers, we do not have the budget.
We don't have them in advance.
We don't have
We-
them,
No, we get the budget every year,
right, but once they are done,
correct?
we
Right,
don't.
so we don't have
We're not in
advance,
charge of the budget. We don't set it. We don't project it.
Right.
We look at it and we question it and we accept it. But-
So I guess my thing is, I wanna make sure that we, meaning the city council and this board, are moving in the same direction that, cause I think what you said is really true, that, you know, we've got 1,000 things we're doing, this is your focus, you know this better than anybody, and I wanna make sure that, you know, we're moving forward in a way that makes sense to the board. You know, so, you know, I'm very happy to take that role of, hey, I'm gonna get these 3 groups or 4 groups or 8 groups or how many are there, we're gonna try to put everybody in swim lanes and organize, you know, and promote, you know, so that, you know, we can say, hey, you know, everybody listening, this is the group you should reach out to if you wanna help with this foundation, and then make sure that whether it's the money that is raised is done in a way that promotes the programming and everything that this board is recommending. I mean, it sounds like that's the synergy that.
I mean,
works.
what I'm hearing is like, we're talking a little bit around it, but it seems to me like what would be optimal is having one group, like you said, having one group really be sort of the point group, and not having competing fundraising efforts or, you know, whatever, right? Like, I think it's like, if we just are being a little bit more black and white about it, I think we want to have one group that is really supporting the library with sort of like a unified front.
That's what we did with the building. There were different groups, and then the city council said, you know what? This group is gonna be the official fundraiser for the building of the library, right? And that stopped all the confusion about who was doing what.
Yeah.
Right now, we don't have that group is the problem, I'm not even getting a clear message from the different groups of what they want their role to be, and that's why I was reading the minutes from the last meeting here, because everyone was kind of saying, well, this is what we're doing. I was trying to get a feel for what they wanted their role to be moving forward, and
There was no discussion.
No, there was no discussion, and it was a very broad,
It's still great.
unified agenda of like, support the library. And I think, yeah, that's, we're all here to support the library. But I think when we're not able to have a more directed, concerted effort, it's gonna continue to lead to this confusion. And so I guess my recommendation is that when we are looking at how we are unifying or consolidating, or, you know, use a couple different words there, that there's one goal that everyone is sort of behind, and if you're not behind it, then is that an appropriate group to be a part of
So
it?
can I just say something too? I said, I had this conversation with Peggy. I was part of the original group that was the original fundraising group with the comments with Joe Jennings. And Joe Jennings, Kathy Green, and myself, we were there, did the MOU, was the original group that got the MOU from the council to be the sole fundraiser for the building. And that was the group that raised the 5 million.
Mhm.
That was the body and soul that started this. And, the narrative was always, people started, so confusing, there's all these groups, it's so confusing. And I finally looked at Mayor Way and I said, we've got to change the narrative. Stop the conversation of saying it's so confusing, because it's not, because that group rose to the top and rose $5.2 million. And through the grace of whatever God you pray to, we got a state grant for the other 5. And $1 million from the county somehow. But start the conversation with, it's not confusing. There are very specific swim lanes. And it's so funny that you said that, because I have a 19-page report that Joe and I wrote called Swim Lanes, exactly about this subject. I don't know if you share it with you. Do you have it? I have it.
I don't have it.
It's
It
a
sounds,
19-page report about how this all swim lanes, how everybody stays in their lane and swims and gets it right. And, it's not that confusing, because the Friends does something very specific in its programming. And the Commons in its original form rose to raise the money. The foundation does what the foundation does. And so it makes sense. You don't necessarily need one, but you can. And now there's a new entity that has to happen to fill the delta, which is an endowment world has to happen. Because there is a gap, because you have a beautiful new building that's gonna cost more than what downstairs costs. So it's not impossible to envision a world that still has different groups, because they do different things and they appeal to different vendors, different donors. People who give their $25 at the end of the year to Friends is an entirely different donor than the donor who wrote a $1.5 million check to the Commons. So both those people exist in this city. And it's okay to have different fundraising entities that support those different worlds, because they support different needs that the library has. You just have to change the narrative and say, it's so confusing, I don't know what it is. It's not confusing, we have these different groups and they support different parts of the library.
We're kind of at an inflection point with the new library and a restart of how to coordinate, as you said, and facilitate what they do,
Yeah.
amplify.
I mean, and
I don't
to
know.
me, I've always, and I had to change my mindset too. I changed the narrative when people say it's so confusing. I'm like, it's not confusing. Friends does this amazing job with programming. And they write checks and they clean the carpet and they do programming when you need a master gardener class or whatnot. So that's, yeah.
but back to, I think, your starting point, which is there's now a vacuum, or there's an upcoming need that will not be met. And I suggest we do our best to define it and then put the right resources against it, which might sound obvious. It's compatible with everything you said, which I like. I agree with that. We do have a variety of needs, but if there is a big and soon to be unmet ongoing need, let's get ahead of it and put the right resources against it. And the point you raise and the question you raise of who organizes, who coordinates that, and who would be the driving force, I think it's essential. And the further ahead of it we are, the better, the easier it is. And I'm interested, and I don't know some of the future designs and, instincts of the various groups, right? Because raising, like the Commons, they did a big lift. And I think there's an ongoing significant lift needed that we'll all benefit from this clarity around that. So, and if you're asking, like,
I agree.
who's going to step up to task a
Right, my question
ask
was, is this the group to
do we
step
wanna-
up, or is it the city council? And it sounds like what I'm hearing, it's the city council.
I think in those stark terms, that feels right to me.
Yep.
And whatever happened with Commons, that worked. So let's do it again.
Yeah, but the mission of the commons is coming to an end.
I know, and this is a
mission-
new and ongoing
That's right.
mission, right? This is an
And-
ongoing
And the
kind of
library
evergreen.
mission is currently incapable of not really equipped to provide the funds needed. So it's a question of asking.
Is this the
Is
evolution
it-
of the
are we
Commons
within the
Foundation? And if
mission?
not,
That's
it's
right.
there's a new need.
Just, that's right. It's just really asking a very direct question, saying, this is how much we need to be raised and who can do it? And if it's in,
All right,
just.
I have heard you and I will move forward in that direction. I will start by talking to Ann Morrison, who. you know,
Perfect.
And just find out if this is something that she's up for or
I
not.
think that's a
And
perfect,
if not,
right,
then we
next
gotta
step.
Go, you know.
I mean, I think we have
Keep-
to,
Keep going.
we have
Yeah.
to present it though as an exciting opportunity to fill this gap that's created
Well-
because we're having a more vibrant library.
Yes.
So,
This is a great problem to have.
yes,
And
exactly.
it should be an honor for somebody to fill.
It should be a problem that was solved 5 years ago.
Well,
Started inviting people to come talk.
But here we are. I'm dying to hear what their thoughts are. Go forward.
I will find out and share it with you.
Getting
Which
back
asked
to,
me, are you our city council liaison?
My city council liaison,
We're the ad hoc
I,
for the,
I'm with the
For the new
comments, right, for the,
For the comment.
for the new no, for the new library,
The library board has,
a liaison. I was liaison at one point. I don't think I am right
so
now.
it's particularly good to have a city council member at our meetings. This way, they know what we're doing. and
Sarah.
Maybe you didn't have to be
Yeah.
here tonight. But if they were
If
just-
somebody else
if-
was reporting out,
If,
exactly.
if the city, the city liaison came, because again, we're talking about working in silos. We do a little thing here, a little policy. And
No,
who knows what we're doing?
That makes sense. Well, I think so. We should hear you.
kind of getting back to where you started, and I think this has gone in a great direction. But you talked about trying to coordinate a bit on these closing and openings.
fundraiser.
And even though, that Catherine Way has a logo.
She showed it to me, she's so funny, in between baby rose
But,
photos.
I mean, is there a way to? Is there some entity that can help coordinate some of that? I don't know. I mean,
I think you need, even as someone who can talk to these groups and just, even if it's just a central Dropbox file kind of person who can send me your meetings, send me your stuff, so everyone is coordinating and I don't know if you guys are the entity to say that, like, for me, the suggestion would be that there's one logo on everything, so everyone knows that it's about the new library. That would be my suggestion, but. that's a
and they
bigger-
talked about getting a graphic designer to do one, but maybe it's
Oh,
already
yes, I
done.
think Catherine's got a great. That was
All
that
right.
whole Magnolia Rose thing. she's talking
Would it
about
be
last
all
time.
right if I ask her to share it with me?
Yeah, yeah.
Share it with all of us. It sounds
Everybody, yeah.
interesting. I mean, let's take a look.
Probably chat GPT.
It would be good if, I know I've said it before, but we have these meetings set every Monday. Maybe it's not a format that people are willing to, well, every Monday, every month. Maybe this is not a good place to have it, but it is a moment and a place where anyone who has interest in the library can come and tell us what.
Yeah, but if you're
what
gonna
they
go
want
into
to do.
your policy meetings, that's gonna eat up your meeting.
Yeah,
It should be a separate meeting of
I agree.
But
This is
library
Just-
opening
this is
ceremonies or whatever.
absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah,
just
this is.
just a committee.
I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, it should be like a committee and it should be like 2 people from each world and a
Yes,
fundraising event person and Damon and someone from this.
Damon, there you go.
Damon,
another
sorry,
meeting.
Damon.
No, I was thinking it'd be better to not have it Brown Act related to
Correct.
some way.
Right, yeah.
This
Yep,
So how do you? do that?
seconded.
You have committee.
two members of each
Oh, I
group.
see.
or-
Yeah, so that no one, no one has to be noticed.
Yeah.
Thank you all for indulging me on my detour.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Scott.
Appreciate this.
This was a necessary
Really?
detour.
Helpful.
Looking at me, Can we move on to future agenda items?
You had begun that.
I had
Right.
begun that.
Yes.
That's okay, that's okay, that's good. So we had what you suggested having, which is what,
Well, I think,
What
yeah,
we-
we can,
well, maybe we will have to have that on the agenda again to revisit what the progress is.
right,
Because the city council member will come and report to us.
but I think we
So,
can change that agenda item to sort of like tracking the coordination of the support groups.
There you go.
Yeah, that's something.
All right, who's writing this down?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
agenda-
good.
oh,
Yeah,
ag-
sure.
Agenda item, I'm gonna repeat. the,
Sure, tracking the coordination efforts of the support groups.
All right, policies, we will just have the first group of policies next meeting.
Yeah, I'll start.
Starting with programming with a circulation of some reference
Mhm.
policies.
Any
In
other,
Do we wanna touch on the mission statement next meeting or hold off on that?
let's hold off on that. Because we're gonna have the programming gonna take quite a
Yeah.
chunk, and we're gonna have a report on the book brigade from the meeting on the 28th, where the two of you are going. So. Anything else?
No, I think that's good. I think the programming policy will take a good chunk of time.
And the next meeting date will be November. Second.
Third, we did propose doing it for the first Monday in
Yeah.
November,
Because it was gonna be closed on the
on the
11th.
tenth,
Yeah.
yeah, is Veterans Day.
Yeah.
So
the
November
third.
So
3rd,
we did the day before election.
yeah, Monday.
And the next one, I guess, is the 8th.
So November 3rd,
Yeah, that works.
we'll have that, and we will
Okay.
adjourn the meeting at 7:42.
Okay.